that I am part of it. If everyone had a voice, so I'm just grab one.
Yeah, I should probably do that.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can everybody hear me okay? I had a line from a friend of mine, a hymn, and in this hymn she says, "I'm grateful for the magic, I'm grateful to be here." And that feels present for me right now. So give me a moment here, let me get settled in. You guys know that feeling maybe in college or in high school when you know you're going last in the class to give a speech and you have the whole class to think about, okay, what am I going to talk about? That was that meditation for me. It was it was a real practice to stay centered and stay calm, but I got a good 20 minutes to rehearse there.
Okay.
Thank you for the introduction, Paul. I appreciate that. Like he said, I wear a lot of hats, and through mindfulness, through the work I do in conservation Audubon, through art, through teaching art, I found that all of these are a way for me to find presence. In all of these things, they all help me to find different places in my heart. And I wanted to start this talk by reading a poem. This is a poem that I wrote that some of you might be familiar with. It's a poem about embracing the full scope of life and returning to self. It's called "For the Joy of the Sun." An endless light, infinitely bright, my delight is in shining with you. I allow it. I allow it. I allow it. If there were ever a time when the emptiness of space or the density of matter make me feel swallowed up, I will allow my shining star, my joy and my light to take hold again. I allow it. So I figure the best thing I can do is sit up here and be honest in my expression and be honest in my humanity and be reminded of the times where I felt swallowed up or overwhelmed by the pressures of life, the anxieties of life. Even when I was asked a few months ago to give this talk by Bobby Perkins, I had these swirling thoughts of feeling under-resourced and underqualified, lack of confidence, and questioning, what do I have to give? What do I have to give in a situation like this? So I had a great conversation with Bobby and the marketing director here, Anna Shoemaker. And I was returned to a sense of confidence and feeling the support, much like I feel this evening from such good friends and community that's come. And all of this, these feelings of anxiety and lack that I was feeling, the support helped me to come back to my honesty, helped me come back to my present, helped me come back to the sense of presence that it can be my dharma just to be honest here. It can be my dharma just to be present here. So during all of this, also, I was reminded of a favorite poem by a favorite poet of mine, David White. And I hear this voice during my anxiety, start close in. It says, start close in. And there's a poem by David White called Start Close In. I'll read it now. Start close in. Don't take the second step or the third. Start with the first thing, close in, the step you don't want to take. Start with the ground you know, the pale ground beneath your feet, your own way of starting the conversation. Start with your own question. Give up on other people's questions. Don't let them smother something simple. To find another's voice, follow your own voice. Wait until that voice becomes a private ear, listening to another. Start right now. Take a small step you can call your own. Don't follow someone else's heroics. Be humble and focused. Start close in. Don't mistake that other for your own. Start close in. Don't take the second step or the third. Start with the first thing, close in, the step you don't want to take. I'll take a breath with that. To me, that poem is finding presence in what is most forward-facing. It's an acknowledging these emotions, thoughts, responsibilities, physical sensations, thoughts to do laundry or chores, insights or intuitions, anxiety, sadness, joy, love, creativity. It's acknowledging all parts of self with grace. So for me, finding presence in this process, finding presence in the process of starting close in, is a new way to discover mindfulness. Even during meditation, I'm struck with how much comes up for me. Just a full expanse of emotions, thoughts, all of it. And just by acknowledging what's close in for me and allowing that to be a part of my experience, I'm able to release a lot of this. Just by saying, I see you, I'm here with you, I acknowledge you. To me, that's what being close in is all about. It's also honoring commitments. It's honoring my commitment to be here. It's creating a sense of resiliency, leaning into what's close, even when it's hard. So all of that is how I chose to talk about what I am talking about now. I figured the best thing I could do is speak to the parts of me that are the most close in, the most dear to my heart, and the most present parts of my life. Recently, this has been dance, poetry, art, nature, and I think all of you have the materials that you need. Art is a huge part of my life, particularly drawing. And over time, it's become a meditation for me. So it's really wonderful to be able to share this with all of you and have it be a sort of collective effort of creativity. So, get my stuff here. This mindful art practice is an opportunity to process emotions, but also have a record of those emotions. I think that's one of the beautiful things about art. It's said that art can be a manifestation of contemplation. And I think that is what is so beautiful about viewing other people's art and making art ourselves. This practice of mindful art, for me, is a practice that helps me to return to myself and return to the pieces of myself that feel the most true. So those who are at home and those who are here, you should have a sheet of paper and something to write with, a pencil or a pen. Everybody have something like that. And if you're at home, this could be a journal, it could be a pen, pencil. Everybody good? Okay. So in this practice, we will combine breath with movement. You're invited to follow my cues and follow along with me, but I also invite you to make it your own. If something is close in for you, please follow that. You're invited to make this however you need to make it in order to be comfortable. I'll also note that if for whatever reason drawing with a pen or pencil is uncomfortable, you can trace in the air with a finger. So let me demonstrate here so everybody can see. So for this, I'll start with just a dot. And we're drawing shapes and tracing these shapes with the breath. So what I would do is I would start perhaps with a circle, inhaling, and exhaling when I reach that stopping point. Inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling, exhaling. You get the idea. So let's try it together. So everybody, starting with the dot on your paper, let's inhale together as we begin our shape. Inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling as you trace. Exhaling. Breathing deeply as you continue to trace this shape. Continuing. Just noticing this experience. Noticing the sound. Noticing the weight of the pencil on paper. Let's take 2 more cycles of breath. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. And exhaling. Good. Pausing just for a moment. Invite you to pick up your pencil or pen. Place it on a new area of your paper. Let's try again. Drawing a dot. Inhaling to draw your shape. Exhaling to trace. Continuing. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. Continuing this process. And perhaps noticing any emotions that are coming up in this. Does it bring joy? Does it bring boredom? Does it bring a sense of curiosity? One more inhale, exhaling, pausing on this shape. Let's try once more here. Once more, adopt. This time I invite you to perhaps go the other direction, inhaling as you draw your shape, exhaling as you trace. Inhaling and exhaling. Let's continue in silence and listen to the sound. Inhaling once or twice more. And pausing there. Let's gaze upon what you have just created. Just looking at what you have made. Like I said, art can be considered a manifestation of contemplation, a visual representation of meditative practice. So now, for the fun part, we will switch hands. If you are using your right hand, I invite you to switch over to your left hand and vice versa. If you need, feel free to flip your paper over or turn to a new page perhaps. I'm gonna just make some room on the paper that I have, up to you. Now in your other hand, let's take a moment before we begin. Just feeling the weight of this pencil or pen. Noticing any emotions or thoughts, perhaps resistance that's coming up to hold this pencil or pen in your opposite hand. What does it bring up for you? Without judgment, just breathing into what that's like. So once again, we'll start the same practice with the opposite hand. We're all familiar at this point. Starting with the dot on a blank part of your paper. Slowly, with this hand, carefully, let's begin. Inhaling. Exhaling, slowly. Noticing what it is like to draw with this hand. Or do you feel the need to speed up or to slow down? Is it more careful? Or is it a bit rushed, sloppy? Just noticing all of this as you trace your shape. Inhaling once or twice more as we trace with attention. Okay, let's try one more. Actually, we'll do 3 more, but let's do it again. So a dot and opposite direction if you wish. Inhaling as we trace. Exhaling. Inhaling, creating with the breath. Exhaling. Continuing on your own. Continuing and noticing without judgment, whatever might be coming up for you. Everyone's own unique experience on this collective journey. Okay, pausing on that shape. We'll do one last circle and then we'll close this practice with a little surprise. We'll see, we'll see. Okay, last time with the dot, with intention, drawing once more, with the breath inhaling, exhaling, drawing and redrawing your shape. Noticing the intuitive nature of such a familiar shape. Many of us have been drawing these shapes for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Noticing the muscle memory, noticing the comfort, or perhaps discomfort. And acknowledging any memories, thoughts, or feelings that might come up. And pausing there. And for the final shape, Joshua got it right, that it could be, the invitation is for it to be any shape that you want it to be. I see some of you already have taken this invitation, but anyone else, if you've only been drawing circles like me, I invite you to choose a different shape. It could be an organic shape, a geometric shape, a shape of your own invention. We'll do this one more time, drawing your own shape and tracing and retracing this shape. Thank you. Either hand for this final shape. Well, we'll end it on the bank here. Okay. So starting with the dot once more, using the same technique, inhaling as you draw your shape and exhaling as you trace your shape. Inhaling, exhaling. Noticing and feeling into the shape that you have chosen. Noticing the emotions. Why did you choose this shape? What is it about this shape that speaks to you this evening? Let's continue slowly and carefully for a few more cycles of breath. Once or twice more, breathing and tracing. And when you're ready, closing the cycle of breath and the cycle of that shape. Before you set your paper aside, I encourage you to look at what you've drawn. Looking deeply into these unique and truly one-of-a-kind forms. Just noticing, perhaps tracing with your finger, perhaps noticing the texture. These are your creations, created through breath, through periods of repetition, manifestations of your generosity of time, manifestations of your awareness to give this gift of presence to yourself. Feel free to set your pads to the side if you would like. Before I forget, feel free to take your papers home today, but please do leave the clipboards and pencils. I'll end this talk with a quote. This is life advice from late poet Mary Oliver. 3 steps: pay attention, be astonished, and tell about it. Thank you all for joining me today for this experience and practicing mindful art with me. It really means a lot. Thank you. Thank you. And Paul, at this point, I guess we're reflecting.